Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs, and today I have this set of alcohol ink birthday cards to share with you. So let's jump right in. So to start, I'm going to cut down a piece of Yupo. I actually have some large sheets of Yupo from when I taught a class, so I'm going to cut a sheet off of that to use for this. And here you can kind of see Azure a little bit. He is one of my new kittens. I had to remove them from the room because I was working with alcohol ink, and they did not come back in this video. But I promise you guys will see the kittens very, very soon, probably in my live stream this week, in fact. So I cut a sheet of Yupo down to be, I believe it's 5 by 12. Yes, because I'm going to create 6 2-inch panels out of this. So it's 5 for the 5.5 for the base. And then I'm going to cut it down to the 2-inch mark. So I'm going to end up with 6 pieces of Yupo that are 2 by 5 in the end. So I cut this down because I thought it would be really fun to work with just one larger panel. Normally I don't do that. Normally I kind of work in littler sections, but I thought it would be fun to get this more large design. So I pulled out all of the pinks and reds that I had in my collection. I personally do not celebrate Valentine's Day, but if you did and you wanted to kind of create a really pretty background, this is the best way to do it, I think, because alcohol inks just give you stunning results. At least I feel that way. So I did decide to go for that. You could, of course, use watercolors as well if that's more your style, but I just brought in all of the reds and pinks that I owned. And so for the colors, I have Cosmopolitan, Cranberry, Raspberry, Shell Pink, and Red Pepper. And then I also brought in Enchanted and Deception, which are pearls. So that gives you kind of a fun sheen. And then I just worked between all of those colors with my blending solution. Because I like how the blending solution helps them blend together and helps them move across the Yupo. So that's just kind of what I'm working on here. And I just keep adding color until I'm happy. I have had people comment that alcohol inks are, difficult to control, but I think that that's the beauty of them, at least in my opinion, is that you get this really beautiful wispy look, and that's what I love about alcohol inks. But you have to be a bit patient, and you have to kind of work one drop of color at a time. So you'll see me, this is sped up, of course, because otherwise we'd be sitting here for quite a while. But I add one color, like one drop of color, and then my blending solution, and I move it around with my air blower. If you don't have an air blower, you can use a straw. That's what I used before I had the air blower. But just be careful you're not inhaling the fumes of the alcohol ink. Just be aware of that, okay? So then I'm going to flip on just a little bit of the 99% alcohol, and that's just going to give me some slight splatters in the background. I love this look. You don't need to add this if you don't want to, but I love how it looks. I love this kind of textured feel, so I do go ahead and add that. And then I'm also going to do some white and black splatters. Again, because I love that look, you don't need to add them if that's not your thing. But splatters and texture are very much something I enjoy when I create, so I do kind of lean towards them. So I did add a little picket fence paint, and then I just have a black acrylic on hand that I'm using, and it is a Mars Black from Liquitex. And I'm just going to mix that up with some water and splatter that onto the background as well. And then we're going to set this aside to fully dry. I have been asked before if people have tacky areas, and I find generally if you have a lot of tacky areas left, it's probably because you may have used too much alcohol ink and not enough of the solution to help it kind of set. So if you're struggling with alcohol inks, I really suggest going back and watching Tim Holtz, the video when he introduced them, because he does go through tips and tricks with the alcohol inks. So if that's something you're struggling with, I would really recommend checking out his video, because I personally have not had that issue. So it's hard for me to, diagnose an issue that I personally haven't had. So definitely check out one of his videos on alcohol inks if you need some more tips. Then I brought in what I want to use for the focal image on this card, though they're going to be very subtle because, as you see, I am cutting them out of vellum and pearlescent vellum. But I brought in 3 of the Vault Wildflower dies that came out in 2024, and I'm going to cut 2 of them out of regular vellum and then 1 of them out of a pearlescent vellum. And this is just because I don't want to add a bunch more color to my card. I love the alcohol ink. I want that to be the focal, but I need a little something. So I am pretty much creating a Valentine's Day card ultimately, but you could of course replace the flowers with hearts, or if you want it to be more Valentine's Day-esque. I'm going to choose to turn them into birthday cards instead because I always need more birthday cards, but you could easily change up the sentiment here and have them be Valentine's Day cards if that's something you need on hand. So definitely just an idea to keep in mind. I'm not going to show you all of the die cutting, but I did cut six cards worth of these florals. And then, of course, the same 2 out of regular vellum and then the 1 out of pearlescent vellum. And the pearlescent vellum one is honestly just to create some more interest. If you don't have pearlescent vellum, use vellum. It's going to work perfectly fine. And then for backing my alcohol inks, I'm going to bring in some glitter cardstock. So I'm originally going to cut this to be... what did I cut it to be? 5.5 by 12, because of course it's 12-inch sheets, so I can't cut it larger than that. And then I'm going to cut them down to be 2.5 by 5.5. I changed my mind on this. You're going to see here in a second. I didn't like how wide the border was, so I'm going to change my mind and trim them down even a bit more, but I'm going to show you what I'm cutting here. So as I said, I'm going to cut them to be 5.5 by 2.5, leaving me a fairly large border because I thought that's what I wanted. But then when I actually hold my panels up together, I didn't like it that way. So you're going to see what I mean here in just a sec when I kind of line them up and decide what I'm doing. And then I'm also going to cut down my alcohol inks. At this point, I have done all of my die cutting, so it is completely dry. Even the little bit of shiny area, I'm not having any issues with that. So you're going to see that I'm going to cut at 12, or sorry, it is 12. I'm going to cut at 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, right? Just so that I have my 2-inch panel. So these will be, now that they're cut, 2 by 5, so that they fit nicely on the card front, which is an A2 size card, which is 4.25 by 5.5. So it kind of leaves me a bit of a border going around. So you're going to see me fix the glitter panels here in just a second when I decide that I don't like the amount of distance I have for the border. If you've been with my channel before, you kind of know that I prefer a thin border. And so I thought I would try something a bit thicker, but I didn't really like it. So here you can see I'm going to cut them all down to give me a thin border because I didn't like how thick the border was. But I'm also going to use this leftover 1/4 of an inch of glitter cardstock, the longer one. I'm going to use it in the card bases. So nothing goes to waste. I just have to pivot a little bit in my design process and make sure that it's something that I actually enjoy looking at. Because I think that's the biggest thing with card making, is that you're happy with what you've made at the end of the day. And I'm going to be honest, I did struggle with this card a little bit. I originally thought about putting hearts on it, but I didn't like how large the hearts were, because they covered too much of my glitter, or my alcoholic panel. When I pulled my dies out and I kind of just lined them up and was thinking about it, and I didn't like it. So I switched to flowers because these flowers are so delicate and beautiful that I felt like they just went with the design a little better. Like in this, you're still seeing the alcohol ink panel as the focal instead of whatever you're kind of putting over top of it. So I did kind of keep that in mind as I was doing this. I'm also not going to really introduce any more colors. I want the alcohol inked panel to be the focal. I want it to pull the most attention. So in that, I have to be careful what I choose for colors outside of it. That is why I'm going with vellum. I am going to stamp my sentiment in black because I also have black splatter in the panel, so I like how that looks. And then for a finishing touch, I'm going to add a bow on top of the flowers where I've adhered them to the card. But again, that's in like a sheer material. So I'm not really bringing in or introducing any other colors to the panels. I'm just kind of letting the alcohol inks be what catches your eye, and then having the other details be there as well, but not be as eye-catching, so that they can kind of be a little more subtle and a little more in the background in the design. Now, for this, you could easily change up the sentiment. As I said, I'm always short on birthday cards and thank you cards. Those are the ones I send the most. So I need to have a fairly decent stash of thank you cards and birthday cards on hand. So because I don't personally celebrate Valentine's Day, I chose to turn this into birthday cards, because I just made a set of thank you cards, if you guys caught Thursday's video with the butterflies. So I chose to make these ones birthday cards, but you can easily change up the sentiment. You could easily make them Valentine's Day cards, thank you cards, just like saying hello, inspirational. I think that they could really be anything. They're kind of a classic, beautiful card that leans itself towards multiple different sentiments depending on what you currently need in your stash. And I think that these also could be given away as, a set of cards like those butterfly cards I did on Thursday of last week. I think these could easily be, tie a bow around them and give them to somebody who likes to give away cards but maybe doesn't make their own as a gift. I think that would be really fun and really pretty and a great gift for somebody who enjoys mailing things but doesn't really make them themselves. So keep that in mind if you're, looking for a gift for somebody who kind of leans that way. These ones aren't quite as simple. Actually, you know what? They're probably the same amount of difficulty as those butterfly cards were from last week, only in as much as cutting all the flowers is a little bit tedious, but I don't mind. And I'm trying to be better about not showing you guys die cutting everything. Like, that I've die cut each stem, enough for 6 cards. So you don't need to see it. It's okay. Like, I have to keep telling myself, like, you don't need to see every single step. Like, I think you get it when I, do this one thing, right? So I am working on making my videos a little bit not shorter necessarily, because I've started making sets of cards, and of course sets take longer, but I'm just trying to make them a little more compact, I guess, in how they're edited. But for my sentiment, I used the Simon Says Stamp You Shine stamp set. I don't know if the stamp set's still available, but use any sentiment you have in your stash. Like I said, I'm making them into birthday cards because I think they're really pretty that way. But they could be thank you cards. They could be Happy Valentine's Day, or I love you, or thinking of you, or, that they could be a lot of different things, I think. So whatever you have, use that. And I do have a Waffle Flower mat in the bottom of my Misti. That's how it holds my cards, so I don't have to use the magnet. Everything I use is always linked and listed down below in the video description, so you can always go and check out whatever it is I'm using if you're interested. I think the You Shine stamp set is still available, but it may not be, so if it's not listed, it's because it's no longer available. But you guys know I am a big believer in using what you own already, so, bust out whatever your favorite sentiment is or whatever you happen to need and use that with these, because I think that'd be really pretty. And if you don't like pinks and reds, you could easily recreate this in blues and purples, or yellows and oranges, or oranges and pinks. Just pick 2 colors that are close together on the color wheel so you get a really beautiful blend, and they would be stunning in any color palette. So there you can see that I've kind of created my little bow out of some kind of sheer ribbon. Bows are not my strong suit, so you see it did take me a few minutes to get it together there, but I thought it was really cute, and I love how it just kind of hides the glue that I'm using on to keep all these stems together. I do go in and adhere them in a few different paces up the stem, not the whole stem, because I do want a little bit of movement, but I do adhere them, in a couple of choice places just to make sure that they stay on the card, so that I'm not worried about them falling off. So I adhere them all at the bottom there where I kind of want my little bouquet to sit together. And then I am going to adhere each one of them closer to the top, not quite the whole way up, but just enough that I kind of have them stay on the card front, so that I'm not worried about them falling off, because they are such a delicate material. If they get stuck in the envelope, they may rip. So because of that, I am kind of trying to adhere different areas down to make sure that they stay down when I have to slide them in an envelope and that kind of thing. And then I am going to adhere the bow as well, quite well. I'm going to use my reverse tweezers for that because it doesn't want to stay there. It's kind of a thicker material, the bow. If you have a thinner ribbon, by all means use that. I just use, again, what I have on hand. And so I'm going to adhere it, but you're going to see I'm going to have to use my reverse tweezers to actually just keep it in place while I wait for the glue to grab onto the bow. So I just hold it on the side there until it's dry, and then I keep going. And now if you saw my Simon Says Stamp haul last week, I got these new pearls in from This calls for confetti. They're from the Simon Says Stamp shop. And this comes, I think it has 6 sizes of pearl. So I was really excited about that. This is my first time using them on a card. And look at how small the little pearl near the top is. So, so cute. And again, these aren't necessary. If you don't have pearls or you don't have a white embellishment, don't add it. These are beautiful as is. It's just that I love pearls. I love embellishments. They make me happy, so I tend to add them to everything, and it just fills in a little bit more of that space around the florals that aren't on top of the alcohol inked panel. So just, something that I prefer to do, but you don't need to do it if you don't have any embellishments. I just happen to have a lot of pearls because I love them, and I just recently picked these ones up from a company I hadn't used before. So I am really excited about that. And then this is where I'm showing you that I've taken that extra strip of glitter cardstock that I cut off of my mat earlier, and I'm going to adhere it inside just for something a little bit extra. It's very subtle, it's super easy to do, but it just adds a little bit of something on the inside, and I'm not wasting those strips that I had to remove because I didn't like how thick that border was. So just a little bit of something extra that I think turned out really pretty. So that is the set of cards I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday, and of course live streams are every second Thursday. So live stream actually is this week. I will be working on the album that I made. I'm going to do some decorations for it, so please join me if you're free. It is Thursday the 6th of February at 3 p.m. PST, which is 6 p.m. EST. So if you're free and you're around, you can come in and chat and visit and tell me all about your day. I'd love to hear. And I am trying to hit 25,000 by the end of 2025 in subscribers. So if you're not subscribed and you like my content, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you checking out my content consistently and, just hanging out with me. I'd really appreciate that. So that is what I have for you guys today. Thank you so, so much for hanging out with me. And I will see you on Thursday for the live stream, and hopefully the kittens will make an appearance. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.